What's happening, everybody? How y'all doing? So check this out. Me and my son was talking yesterday, and we were talking about the Oscars. And he told me how surprised he was that Michael B. Jordan was 40 years old. Now, I'm 45, so 40 years old is not old. But to him, he was very shocked at him being 40. I went to sleep early yesterday. I finally got some good sleep. And that thought just kept replaying in my head. And here's why. You see, this generation is a microwave generation. And this generation thinks that there's a certain thing as overnight success. And Hollywood would package something to make it look like it's an overnight success. But if you talk to those people, they'll tell you they've been doing it since they was 4 years old. But for a lot of people, they see him at this stage. And the problem is you inspire to be that, not understanding how long it took. You see, when I was born, I came into my grandparents' space, their life, probably in chapter 10 of their book. So as I started to get older, I started to look at my grandfather and I wanted to pattern myself after my grandfather. And every time I would fall short, I would look at that as a failure. I would see him doing good and I would try my best to do good. I would try my best to meet that standard and I would fail. At least I thought I was failing. And when I had those failures, it made me sway so far left because I felt like I could never be that. But at this old young age of 45, what I'm now understanding is I was inspiring to be something in chapter 12 when I didn't know what chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was like. You see, a lot of times we want what others have, and comparison is the thief of all joy because we're looking at something and we feel, I want that, but we don't know what it took to get that. Meanwhile, we are judging ourselves. Use myself as an example. Long ago, I wanted to write. I wanted to do all of these other things. And comparison started to steal my joy because I was looking at what everyone else was doing. I feel like I'm putting out good stuff. Why am I not getting the fanfare? Why am I not getting that traffic? But later on, what I started understanding is there's a such thing as buying views. I didn't know what none of that stuff was. People can buy views. And the problem with that is it's kind of like cooking. You can put something in a microwave and it might taste good, but when you put something in that oven, something about cutting that oven on to 400 or 450 and letting that thing cook, and it tastes that much better. When you're eating it, you feel the preparation and the love, vice putting it in the microwave. And like I said, this is a microwave society. People want things to happen fast, but the faster sometimes that it happens, the quicker it burns out. See, that's why we have to understand what we pray for. A lot of us are praying for things and we're not praying for the capacity to be able to hold those things. I say this all the time. The devil is in the blessing business too. And a lot of times you can put things in the atmosphere. If I can just make X amount of money, I'm going to be straight. Now, you're at a job that you have prayed for. You prayed for this job because you were unemployed. Now you have this job, but all your peers, it seems they're making way more. So now here you are sitting in a blessing that you prayed for, but you focused on what everybody else is doing. Not only is that disrespectful to God, that's disrespectful to you too. So now you death scrolling on your phone and then that Indeed message pops up and you start looking at that job, but the only thing you focus on is the money. Now here you are sitting in something that you prayed for, but comparison has you looking elsewhere. So now here you go applying for that position and you get called in for the interview and you get the job. The first thing that you do is you run to social media and you tell people, man, I thank God, but God didn't tell you to do that. That was you because you were so focused on everybody else. Now you get that job and you're on the job 6 months and you find out that they lost the contract. Now you're back unemployed when all you had to do is stay where you were. What was on that other side of the door was learning something that maybe if you would have just stayed there and then went to that next position, you would have been prepared. But comparison will literally steal your joy. I was in a situation before to where back in San Diego when we all ran the rock and roll marathon and leading up into the marathon, I didn't train like I was supposed to train because I felt like I was in shape. I was working out every day and I was comparing my body type to everybody else. The day before the marathon, they had this event at the San Diego Convention Center and we went to the event and they were selling socks. They were selling this, that, and the other. And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, they just trying to get money out of you. But I had never ran a marathon. I didn't seek people who ran a marathon. I just looked at myself and I compared myself to other people. So all of these people buying socks, buying all of these things that you needed. And I showed up to that marathon in basketball shorts, regular shoes. I was not prepared. We got to about mile 4, 5, or 6, and I'm drenched in sweat. My legs is chafing, my feet is hurting, and I'm watching all the people pass me by who I was looking at in the beginning of the race saying, I know I'm gonna beat them, because I was comparing myself. But see, I was comparing myself, but I didn't know their backstory. I didn't know that they've been training for this marathon for 7, 8, 9 months, some people years. And that's what we do in life. We compare what we see, not understanding what they've been through. I get on people's nerves sometimes making these videos, making these posts and this, that, and that. I'm talking about the people that know me in real life. I get on their nerves. You know why? Because people will hold you to something that makes them comfortable. If you used to be drug dependent, and while you were drug dependent, you stole, but now you are in another stage in life. You are blessed beyond measure. There will still be people in your life that will hold you to how you were because it makes them comfortable in how they are. They will hold you to that because it makes them comfortable. And I say this all the time. Life is about being uncomfortable if you want to grow. Growth requires you being uncomfortable. And a lot of times you go to sleep feeling uncomfortable because God is trying to do something in you. But you're so focused on everybody else. There's somebody out there right now. God has placed something in you. I don't know what it is. You know what it is. Maybe it could be the best hair braider, but because you are so focused on looking at everybody else, you don't want to step out on faith. But you're watching everybody else. You're watching the best makeup artists and you looking at them, you like, man, their foundation is all wrong. I could have did it better. Then why don't you do it? Because you're scared. Because you're scared. Entrepreneurship was on a rise during COVID up until a certain point. And then what people start saying is, well, everybody's doing that. It ain't going to work. It's not going to work for everybody, but how you know it's not going to work for you? So meanwhile, you sitting back critiquing everybody else and what they got going on out of fear because you don't want to move. So just remember this as you go throughout your day. Comparison will literally steal your joy. If you getting out there in your car and it's not a Lexus and it's not a Benz and your next door neighbor got a Benz or your friend got a Lexus, don't compare yourself to them because you don't know what that car note is. Don't compare yourself to them because they are one mechanical failure away from being right back where you at. You have to be able to look at your situation and find the good in the situation. You have to be able to understand that sometimes God will put you in the crock pot to make sure you're fully cooked. And when you are so focused on everybody else, you will settle for the microwave.